And now it's time for another edition of What Would Jello Do? How can people be so fucking stupid? 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 What this adds up to is Trump stole the election. I'll say it again. Trump stole the election. Spread the word. The more he got his usual saturation star treatment, whining on in his trademark crybaby tough guy act that the election was rigged, the more I got that sinking feeling in my gut that the cross-check scam would work even worse than I feared. And the election really was rigged, but it was rigged for Donald Trump. And rigged to make sure all those crackpot Tea Party senators from swing states that everybody thought were going to lose got back in instead. These same swing states where reliable exit polls showed Hillary in 4 of the 5 states winning. But Trump stole the election. And a lot of state house seats, Congress seats, governors, you name it. They've been working on this since before Citizens United, and now the chicken shit has come home to roost all over our heads. So, as Joe Hill pretty much said before our U.S. government executed him for the capital crime of organizing labor unions, don't mourn, organize. Or as I've said before, don't get all broken, beaten down like they want us to be. Now isn't the time to get passive. Now is the time to get evil. What happens to Obamacare? What happens to Cuba? What happens to that crucial treaty keeping nukes out of the hands of Iran and causing people like Saudi Arabia to try and get their own to counter? What happens to the climate treaty? Or the environment in general when the Interior Secretary is somebody like Sarah Palin? Drill, baby, drill in Yosemite. Frack, baby, frack everywhere else. Will the Democrats in the Senate gridlock and filibuster any of this like the Republicans did to gridlock Obama for 8 years? You didn't see them filibustering George W. Bush, did you? They didn't even try. Roberts and Alito on the Supreme Court, they didn't try. Patriot Act, all but one voted for it. Tax giveaways, it just sailed on through. What makes anyone think they'll filibuster when their new leader's nickname in the Senate is the Senator from Wall Street? When not one of them will utter a peep that Trump stole the election? Where's Bernie now? Where's Elizabeth Warren? Where's Sherrod Brown or Franken or Merkley or MSNBC or NPR, whatever? Where's Anonymous with some documents that only Greg Palast seems to have bothered to spread? Or at least finally letting us see Trump's tax returns and that Trump stole the election. They couldn't not have known. From Hillary to Loretta Lynch to Barack Obama on down, what the cross-check scam is and what was about to go down. What do they do now? They're all making nice. One parrot after another, the people have spoken. Donald Trump is our president. We want to work with him to help him have a successful presidency. Sorry, you already did. The fix is in. Again. Sure, the people have spoken, and Trump lost. The popular vote, and the deeper you dig, the more glaring it becomes that Trump stole the election. What kind of middle finger is this from Bernie and all the rest? It should be Hillary leading the charge. Million disenfranchised march on Washington. Occupy the Justice Department. Occupy the Supreme Court. Occupy Congress with the biggest flash mob ever that would grow exponentially by the hour till it is there for all to see that Trump stole the election. We could at least have some Standing Rock style direct action blocking the buses when the Gestapo style roundups of our immigrant neighbors begins, or lying under the ice trucks like they do in Arizona. Block the TPP again if Ryan and Obama try to sneak it through in the lame duck session. Few more dollars from everyone to keep Planned Parenthood open after the federal funding's cut off. At least stand up and say no if you're caught in the middle of a Trump racial attack at a basketball game or anywhere else, and Southern Poverty Law Center's latest figures doubled the figures of 2 days ago, and we're itching up against 500 bigoted incidents just since Trump supposedly was elected. And join the boycott of all Trump family products. Donald's dippy ass ties, Donald's lousy wine, Melania's QVC stuff, and what's her name, Ivanka's dresses and everything else she keeps hawking to this day. Talk about Hillary's emails. Look at this. Right after the vote closed, Canada's immigration website got so swamped that night, within minutes it crashed. What happens to legal weed? With a Congress so corrupt that, scandal or not, they'll rubber stamp a Chris Christie for Attorney General with a specific goal of turning the Justice Department into one giant bridge gate, or even worse, Giuliani, or Bush drug war czar Asa Hutchinson. Maybe one of the Gotti family hasn't gone to prison yet and is invested in one of Trump's towers in Atlantic City or Philly or something. What happens to the Middle East? Sure, Trump probably really thinks he does know more about ISIS than the generals. After all, I'm sure he knows they grope women just like he does. But this is the same spoiled, overgrown 70-year-old Little Lord Fauntleroy child who's so thin-skinned he never forgets a grudge, no matter how small, no matter how long ago, even lying awake at night, tormented to the point where he's firing off psycho tweets at 3:30 in the morning against an old Miss Universe from years ago because she dared to defy him back in the day by gaining a few pounds. And that the media was somehow rigging the election because Alec Baldwin made fun of him on Saturday Night Live. Just wait till Gloria Allred starts filing all the Paula Jones type lawsuits from all the women Trump has attacked. This is worse than Nixon. This is Nixon on crack. And think about that for a minute. Ever thought of what likely would have happened was the Cuban Missile Crisis went down and the president was Nixon instead of John F. Kennedy? I sure have. None of you would be watching this because I wouldn't be here, and most of you probably never would have been born. And what happens at the next G7 meeting? When Trump alone decrees it's the G8 again, and Putin rides into the conference room bareback on his horse, with Trump holding on to Putin for dear life, bare ass behind him. Will Merkel and Theresa May have to guard themselves with spiked chastity plates under their clothes just to keep Trump from groping them too? Joke buzzers even? And you thought Rome was falling before. I was already going to say that it's going to take at least a generation to undo all the damage from the Trump campaign alone. Now how long? Now how deep? What worries me the most is what happens to people like my ex-girlfriend's little boy, whose father is a Mexican national, who came up to his mommy the other day and said, "Donald Trump doesn't like people who look like me." That child is 5 years old. What happens to the kids? What happens to them?